The average business leaves hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars in profit every single year on the table by not properly cross-selling and upselling their current clients. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the framework that we've used to, on average, increase the profit we make per client by $5,750. Now, let me just quickly go through a story of why we started cross-selling and upselling in the first place. So I've been in the online business game for a little over 5 years now. I generated almost $30 million in sales. And for the first couple of years, it was all primarily from new clients coming in. I am a marketer at heart. And so I was primarily just running more ads and creating more organic content in order to close more people in our high ticket programs and packages. But as we started scaling and as I started getting around people that weren't just making a couple of $1 million a year, but tens of billions of dollars per year, there was one common trait among every single one of them, and that was that they were selling their current clients on additional products and packages. Some of them actually making more from their current clients than they do from newly enrolled clients every single month. And that's what got my head actually turning, because then I realized, well, if I could make more for my current clients, I could be less reliant on marketing and advertising. I could be less reliant on sales. I could be more profitable than I was before. It's probably going to be easier to fulfill these people than it would be a new clients. And more importantly, if I did want to scale my marketing, my ads, et cetera, I could now start spending more than my competition because I'm making an extra $5,750 per client than they are. So just for example, let's say that me and my competitor both charge $15,000 in order to work with us. Well, if he charges $15,000 and that's all he makes, then he can only pay up to $15,000 to acquire a client. But because I make an extra $5,750, I can actually pay up to $20,000, so a little over $20,000 in order to acquire clients. And I think it was Dan Kennedy, one of the greatest direct response marketers of all time, that said that he who can pay the most for their clients wins. So let me first explain the two main methods that you can use in order to extract more value, aka money, from your current clients. And a lot of people get these mixed up, and I want to walk through them really quickly with you here. So the first is what's known as upselling. And I would say that this is what the majority of people know or think about when you're talking about selling your current clients. And this is, for example, when you're selling something for $15,000 on the front end. So let's say that's your main package that you're working with them with. And then you get on a call with them near the end of their time with you, and you say, hey, thanks so much for working with us. Did you know that we actually have something for $36,000 that you should consider investing into, right? And so there's a bunch of problems with that I'm going to cover here in a second, but that will be an upsell. They originally paid $15,000, and now you're trying to get them to pay $36,000. Now, this could work for any numbers. If your first package is $1,000, then you could convince them on getting a package that's $3,000. Another great example, if you're running an agency or some kind of recurring thing, if you have a package that is, let's say, $2,000 a month, then you could convince them that they need to actually upgrade to get these additional features for $3,000 a month. The whole point is that they are being sold into a package that's higher than what they previously came into, right? And this is also really common in a lot of online SaaS companies where you come in and you're on the free plan or you're on the lowest plan possible. And then because you need access to more features, more benefits, whatever else it is, then you're going to pay a little bit more money to get that. So that's the most common way that people make money from their clients. And we actually do a really good job because we have multiple offers in the back end upselling our current clients. But this is actually not the main way that we make money from our current clients. The main way that we make money from our current clients is going to be what is called cross-selling. Now, there's a little bit of argument in the, definition of this stuff. I would even consider upselling to be in the school of cross-selling, in the, the vein of cross-selling, but cross-selling is not in the vein of upselling. What do I mean by that? Well, cross-selling is when someone comes in for an original product or package and you are cross-selling them. So you're trying to sell them on additional products and packages while they're still hopefully inactive clients. So in this example that I gave you earlier, somebody came in and they're paying $15,000. Well, you could actually sell them something for $3,000, right? So it's not necessarily an upsell because they're technically paying less than they originally came in for, but you're actually still getting a sale out of them. You're selling something for $3,000. Or if they came in for $15,000, you could actually sell them something for $1,000. Or if they came in for $15,000, you could sell them something for another $15,000. Or if they came in for $15,000, you could sell them something for $36,000, right? The whole point is that you are, in essence, just selling somebody something in addition to what they already bought from them, right? The most common example of this could be when you go to McDonald's or one of those fast food chains and you order something, they say, "Do you want fries with that?" That is a cross sell, right? And I think there's some statistic, don't quote me on this, but it's like those companies actually make almost no money from the hamburger itself. It's almost always from the fries and the drink that you add on top of it, right? And so they extract the profit from you there, and that's what I'm actually proposing a lot of you consider doing for your business here. Now, like I said earlier, we had been doing upsells for years. We have multiple different products and packages ranging from, $2,000 all the way up to $100,000. And so we've been always just trying to upsell, upsell, upsell. But the upsell method has a few limitations. So the first thing is that typically when you're trying to upsell somebody, you have to wait for a certain period of time. So let's say that, let me pull up a new little graph here. Let's say that they join you right here. This is day 0. And then when they end working with you, let's say this is day 120. What most people will do is they will wait until they are at day, I don't know, 110 right here. And then they will offer the upsell. "Hey, thanks so much. I'm so glad you worked with us. Hopefully you got results. By the way, did you know we have this additional offer that you can get all these additional benefits that you want?" Well, the problem here is that it's taking you 110 days, or in essence, 95% of their time with you, you have to go through before you're going to make more money with them. And obviously, what we want to do inside business is make as much money as quickly as possible, as ethically as possible, obviously. And so why I like cross-selling more than necessarily just upselling is because what you could do with cross-selling is they come in day 0. Day 7, you could make an additional offer. I'm going to talk about some examples of what these offers could look like here in a moment. Then day 31, you could make another offer. Then day 90, you could make another offer. And you could still make that offer at the very end to upsell for the 110. And they actually, we've seen this, buy literally every single one of these things and then still buy the offer at the very end to ascend into yourself. And a lot of you are leaving a lot of money on the table by not offering this first, let's say 3 or 4 offers that you could give them on their journey up to work with you, or before they end working with you. And so our ability to do this and really honestly get it down to a science, I'm going to talk about the strategies here in a little bit, has allowed us to make almost an extra $6,000 profit per client, which has been incredible for us to be able to scale. It's also helped me when, let's say, our ad account gets shut down, or costs are fluctuating, or something's going on. I still have the profit coming in from my back end client success team. And another really big piece of this is that this strategy has allowed me to turn, in essence, my client success team from a cost on my P&L statement, from a liability because I'm having to pay them, tens of thousands of dollars every single month, up to sometimes $100,000 in payroll every single month, to now profit, because maybe I'm paying them $100,000, but they might be making me $300,000 or $400,000, sometimes up to $500,000. And so that way I'm actually turning what would be a liability on my P&L into a profit. Okay, so now let's talk about some common mistakes or mistaken beliefs a lot of business owners have around this process of upselling or cross-selling. And then I'm going to get into some of the strategies that you can use and some examples of some offers that you can create in order to cross-sell or upsell. So the most obvious problem that I hear, or the biggest misbelief that I have when I'm talking to business owners and we're trying to add upsells and cross-sells is, I feel bad, or isn't this wrong to charge your clients that are already paying you more money? And the truth is that it's not. There's one thing that I want you to always remember, and that is that a buyer is a buyer is a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. And in short, what that means is that if somebody's buying something from you on the front end, they pulled out the credit card and they paid you money, maybe from an ad, maybe from your YouTube videos, whatever else it is. Well, then they are a buyer. And so they want to spend money. They know, they are smart people, and they are smart enough to know that if they pay money for something, for some kind of service, then they're likely going to shorten their time to get that result if they had tried to do it on their own, and they're going to increase their chance of success. So they're seeing this as an investment, whether it's, business coaching, whether it's getting in shape, whether it's investments, whatever else it is, they're increasing their chances of seeing success and lowering that time frame to see success by paying money. And so you're just giving them the opportunity to do that in multiple areas of their life, right? Or in multiple areas of whatever you're offering. Another big mistake that I see is that people think, well, let me just offer everything on the front end. Let me just make it the most valuable thing in the world. And so there's no back end offers or cross sells. And they think that by offering 15, 20, 30 things by in the core package in your front end offer, that they're doing a better job. And a lot of people, of course, look at like $100 million offers or some of these other books and they think, oh, let me make the most epic, irresistible offer in the world. Where actually, if you know anything about, let's say, for example, Alex Ramozi's business, Gym Launch, that he, I think, created a lot of his frameworks around $100 million offers for, he had a very narrow offer on the front end. Actually, I've spoken not only to his now current CEO, but also Alex about it. And like when I showed him what I used to offer and and he compared it to what he offered, it was hilarious because he had this very narrow scope of what he was offering. And I think at the time, Gym Launch was like 8 course modules, and it was just around this one play that they wanted people to do, and that would get them money. And then they would upsell them or cross-sell them on help with fulfillment and help with operations and supplements and all these additional things that they could make money from their clients on. And of course, their clients were happy to pay them that money because they got the results in the front end and then they wanted to get additional results in other areas. And that's why they were so wildly successful. And so I want you to take a playbook from them and maybe from me here and know that you'd actually be doing a disservice not only to your own business, not only to your own employees, but to your clients by offering everything on the front end. Because a lot of times what can happen, and actually this is what was kind of happening to me, and that's why I was speaking with Alex about it previously, was that our clients were kind of overwhelmed. Not only were our prospects overwhelmed on the sales call because we were saying, oh, you're going to get this and 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 this. But then our clients were actually overwhelmed on the inside when they were trying to figure out, what do I need to do? What's the next steps? How do I move forward in this? Well, they had 800 options. And so, having too many options can actually be hinder you. Having too many benefits can actually hinder you. The other issue there is that they don't know what is the most important benefit to have. What are you selling them that's so amazing? If you're stacking 50 things on top of each other, then they might think that all 50 of them aren't that valuable. Versus if you only offer 3 things, then they're going to think that those 3 things are incredibly valuable. Let me really drive this point home with a little visualization here. So what you're trying to do with your clients is you're trying to capture as much of their wallets as possible. So if you think about it, I'm just going to draw a little pie chart here. Let's say you're coming in and you are charging them, we'll just use that $15,000 example over here. And let's just say for easy numbers, that's 10% of their total disposable income that they want to spend in that area of their life this year. Well, the truth is that they are very likely going to spend all the rest of the money. So a total would be $150,000 that they would spend this year in whatever area this is: health, finance, business growth, you name it, whatever it is, right? And so you're capturing 10% of that. But they are still going to spend another 10% here, another 10% here, another 10% here, another 10% here. There's no doubt that they're going to go out there and get additional help and spend more money. And so instead of you just saying, oh, well, I'm just happy with my little 10% share right here, you can say, how can I create complementary products or services in order to capture another 10% and another 10% and another 10%? And at that point, you're now trying to get as much of their wallet as humanly possible. And so stop looking at this as far as some kind of scarcity thing here, or thinking that you're doing them a disservice. And instead think of it, well, you know what? They're already going to spend this money elsewhere. And actually, the truth is that most other people are terrible at business. They don't take care of their clients. They don't care. They overpromise. They underdeliver. And so if I can actually give them a really good service that they'd already had in my core product or service right here, and I can copy this over in something else that I know they're going to buy elsewhere and bring my level of productization, my level of customer service, my level of results, my level of attention detail to it, I'm actually doing them a favor versus having them go out there and maybe work with some kind of scammer who's just going to steal their money anyway. Okay, so now let's transition to how do you actually create the products and services that you're going to cross-sell or upsell your current clients. I'm going to talk about upselling first because for me, I find it the easiest, and then we'll go into cross-selling, right? So for upselling, what you're typically going to be doing is you're typically going to be offering more of what you already are offering them. So for example, if you run a coaching program and they're getting access to, let's say, 3 coaching calls a week, in this upsell, you can give them access to 5 coaching calls a week. If in the coaching program, they only have access to like some of your coaches, in the upsell, you could give them access to you specifically. In the coaching program, if everything's virtual, in the upsell, they could get access to in-person masterminds. If in the your main program, everything is done with you, and the upsell, you could do some stuff done for you. If in the main program they are running Facebook ads, in the upsell, they could be running Facebook and Google ads. So hopefully you get the idea. You're kind of, they're already coming to you for one thing. And so you're trying to tack onto it and say, hey, you're already getting this one thing here, but here's a better, faster, cheaper, more version that I can give you for a little bit more money. And this works extremely well because you know they already wanted that one thing because that's why they paid you in the first place. And now you're getting them a better version of it later on. And it's a lot of people say, well, why not just go straight to that upsell better version? But the truth is that a lot of people are a little skeptical when they first meet you. They don't know if you're the real deal, if you're going to scam them, if you're actually going to deliver results that you say, which is why you can have a lower entry price point products, prove that you know what you're talking about. And if you're really good, let's say you're in the business world, you can even make them the money that they need to make to then in order to pay you for the upsell better, cheaper, faster version that you're going to talk about a little bit later, right? So that's the whole point of an upsell. Don't get too fancy with it. I do see a lot of people will try to only sell people on an upsell on a solution that is created from the problem of the first thing. So let me actually draw that out here. Let's say I'll use a really good example. So for our clients, the majority of them come in with offer, marketing, and sales problems. Okay. And so they have issues. They need to scale. They have a low show rate. They're not getting enough book calls, trying to get enough clients. They're hitting a revenue ceiling. Paid ads aren't working, whatever else it is. So majority of people come in here. And at some point when you're trying to scale, let's say to $1 million a month, what's going to happen is you're going to come up against some big, hairy challenges that you've never thought about before, like operations and client success, fulfillments, all of that stuff that you actually have never, ever experienced. And so our back-end offer, we call it Scaling Initiative, we actually focus a lot on that stuff there. We talk about talent and recruiting funnels and making offers, compensation plans, increasing your profit margin, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth is that's not all we talk about. That's not just the only thing that we work with here. Because if that was what all that we talked about, then we would need to be waiting for every single client that we worked with to experience those problems. And the truth is, for one of a million different reasons, a client might work with us in our core products and actually never get to the point that they're having problems with operations or client success. That could be because, of the way that their offer is set up or one of 100 different reasons. And so if I set it up this way, where it was just two completely different offers, and this second offer dealing with operations and client success only was for people that experienced that from the first offer, then I might be making an offer to, let's say, 10% of the people that come to the front end. And then, of course, you're making an offer to people, but let's say only 50% of people get on a sales call, so that's 5%. And let's say you close 1 out of every 5, 20% of people. So then that means that you're only really cross-selling 1% or upselling, I'm sorry, 1% of your current client base, which is obviously, no matter how expensive it is, even if you offered a $100,000 thing that you were selling 1% of people to, you're really only adding 1% to your profit margin or to your lifetime value for your clients. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of making the next upsell being something that they have to unlock by working with you. Now, you can throw those things inside of there. That's totally great. But I really recommend doing what I talked about earlier, which is offering them more of what they had before. So, for example, let's say they come in, and for our example here, let's say they're at $10,000 a month. Well, they can make it all the way up to $50,000 a month inside of our main offer, Scaling with Systems, and they still don't have client success and operations problems, but maybe their time with us is up and we 5x their business. Well, now we can still say, hey, if you want to, I think this would be a right move to work inside Scale Initiative. You get one-on-one access to Ravi. You get these in-person masterminds. We'll be able to help you over the next 6 months with these other things that are going to pop up as your business continues to scale, blah, blah, blah. And so that way we can make an offer to every single client that comes through our program versus just that 10% that I talked about before. Okay, now that we've gotten the upsells out of the way, and some examples for that, let's talk about the cross sells here. So let's actually use the same example. We use my own business, right? Someone's coming in, they're at $10,000 a month. They have problems with offer, marketing, sales, and they want to get to $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, et cetera, et cetera. Well, instead of waiting for that, for them to go through the whole program, for them to graduate and then offering them on the upsell, are they going to potentially experience additional problems on the way from $10,000 a month to $50,000 a month? The answer is absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Business is nothing but a set of problems, a series of problems that you're going to experience. And so what we can do is we can offer services that solve some of those problems for them. Now, they don't have to take these services. They could go out there and do it on their own. But like I told you earlier, a buyer is a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. So if someone's already invested in trying to scale their business and they see the value, and let me just pay this person so I can bypass all of this stuff, they've already done this thousands of times, well, then they're probably going to do the exact same thing for another problem inside their business. And remember, if they don't get it from you, they might go and try to find it somewhere else. So we want to offer them those services. Now, I'm not going to go too deep in this here, but I'm not talking about you need to like literally go from offering one thing to offering 700 things here. But there's probably one or two additional services that you know that your clients are probably getting while they're working with you that you could either offer on your own, or another really great example of a cross-sell here would be to joint venture or affiliate partner with somebody else. So let me give you a really good example. For our clients, one of the biggest problems that they have as they're scaling is their ad account keeps on getting shut down. And so what we did is we worked really hard, even for our own company, to find an organization that actually is partnered with Meta that would allow us to run our own ads. So I'm not paying them to run the ads because I don't really believe in advertising agencies. I'm running my own ads, but I'm using their partnered Meta ad accounts. And because I'm doing that, I actually haven't had an ad account shut down in almost 3 years now versus getting one shut down every single month. And so I pay them a certain amount of money every single month in order to have that service and have my protected ad account so we can keep on spending money and scaling. Well, what happens when our clients are trying to scale their ads with us? They're probably going to at some point experience an ad account shutdown. And so what we can say is, hey, you can keep on trying to launch new ad accounts and have all these problems over here, or we found this pre-vetted partner that we personally use that you can use in order to make sure that your ad account is shut down. And yes, if you do work with them, we'll get a small referral affiliate fee, but they don't care about that because that's not coming out of their pocket and it's solving a problem that they have, which is their ad account could shut down. So that's an exact example of what we will do for our clients in order to cross sell. And the really great thing about that for us is that's a recurring fee. And so we're getting actually recurring income from that every month with zero fulfillment costs. So the client's happy because their ad accounts aren't ever going to get shut down again. We're happy because we're getting monthly recurring revenue from it. And so it's a win-win for everybody, right? So that's an example of maybe an affiliate thing. But if you didn't want to do an affiliate thing, let's talk about a few other problems that our clients might have. A really great example is that at some point they need to hire either setters or salespeople, right? And this is actually one of the things that we started doing recently in the past, let's say 6 or 8 months, that has been huge for us adding profit margins to our business. Because what we used to do previously is I used to tell my client success team, hey, you know what, like we'll refer them out to somebody or, let them go figure out sales and setting people by themselves. But the problem would be that it would actually be limiting the growth of our clients. So I would say, oh, why is this client, let's say this client here, $10,000 to $50,000 a month. Why are they still at $50,000 a month? It's been 2 months. And they're saying, oh, well, they're trying to find a salesperson, but they've gone through 4 salespeople, or maybe even they dip their revenue line from $50,000 down to $30,000 because the owner is spending so much time going through the interview process, the hiring process. Then they hire a salesperson, but of course they never hired a salesperson before, so they don't know what a good and a bad salesperson is. So then they were working with this person, they give them all these sales calls, they tank all the sales calls, so then they have to go take that back on. They have all that lost money that they lost from working with that salesperson, et cetera, et cetera. So once again, it would actually be a benefit for our clients. We'd be doing them a service by offering them the ability for us to find, recruit, train, and place a salesperson or a setter. Not only does it prevent them from having to sacrifice all that time, energy, and effort, but on top of that, it's going to speed up the process to help them scale, which could likely help them get into our higher end our back end mastermind way faster, or at least increase the percentage of them getting into our back end mastermind. And so we're going to start offering salespeople and setters, and that's exactly what we've done. And then for us, it wasn't that big of a deal because of my personal brand. We literally get dozens of applications every single month from salespeople and setters without even me having to make a post about it, because we have a website called scalingwithsystems.com/careers, and people apply there every single day. And so I'm able to take people that are warm inbound people and are really, really great talented people. We take them through our recruiting process. So our HR department goes through them, reviews them, checks out the previous experience. Then we get on a call with them. We'll train them. We'll make sure they're up to par. And then we'll place them with our clients. And going back to one of the misconceptions is, Ravi, isn't it bad to keep on charging your clients? One of the things that we'll say is, hey, if it doesn't work out, we will actually guarantee this placement. So we'll continue to place salespeople or setters until you find one that you actually like, right? So it's a win-win for everybody at absolutely no risk to clients. So that's another really great example of a cross sell that's not necessarily the upsell, the back end mastermind that I've had before, that really allows us to go from, let's say, $2,000 in added gross lifetime profit per client to that 5750 number that I talked about in the very beginning. So let me end this video by walking through how do you actually make a cross sell or an upsell offer to your current clients. For me, we break it down into two main categories. The first is going to be proactive, and the second one is going to be reactive. And they both have pros and cons. So I'll start with reactive because this is where most people who are currently offering cross sells or upsells to their clients, this is typically where they are. So reactive is when, let's say, the person is number one, ending their time with you, right? So this is, oh, their time is coming up, their monthly subscription is about to end, their coaching program after 4 months, it's been, let's say 120 days, whatever else it is. And so they're about to leave. Let's try to offer them something. So that's being reactive. Nothing necessarily wrong with that, but that's one method. The second way that you can be reactive is by what we call trigger steps. So a trigger step would be something like, I'll give you a great example. We have a membership site called Scaling School, and it's based on a credit-based system. And so what happens is every single month they get 1 credit to unlock 54 different classes we have about scaling your business. And so what we'll do is when somebody attempts to get a credit, well, that will actually notify our client success team that, hey, this person just used this credit on this course here. And so then our client success team can reach out to them and say, hey, I saw that you just got this class on, let's say, increasing your profit or, our recruitment funnel, hiring salespeople, et cetera, et cetera. Did you know that we offer these things in a more one-on-one setting, blah, blah, blah. And that creates a conversation for us to try to sell them, cross-sell, upsell, et cetera, for our clients. So that's reactive, right? There's many different ways that you can talk about reactive ones, but those are the two main ones. Either their time with you is ending or they have done something physically inside of their work with you. They've completed an onboarding form. They've submitted a testimonial. They've referred a friend over, whatever else it is. And so you're reacting and you're trying to cross-sell them or upsell them. Now, the other way that a lot of people don't do, but this is where the majority of money is made, is being proactive. And so what we seek for inside of our company is an 80% offer rate. So an 80% offer rate means that 80% of our clients are going to get an offer from us at some points. 80%. Most people barely even offer 10% of their clients if they offer anything. But 80% of clients are either going to get a cross-sell or an upsell offer from us at some point of working with us. And that allows us to have such a high cross-sell and ascension rate. And one of the ways we're able to do that is by being proactive. So let's talk about a few ways that you can be proactive inside of here. Number one, I'll just give a few examples of what we do. So I'll call it essentially foresights, but the idea behind it is, let's say the client that I talked about earlier, they're going from $10,000 to $50,000 a month. Now, at this point, we've worked with almost 3,000 businesses one-on-one to help them scale. So we know that when you're going from $10,000 a month to $50,000 a month, you're going to experience a few problems. Number one is going to be the ad account. So instead of waiting for the ad account to get shut down and now the client's not scaling as much, they're not making as much money, maybe they're not even happy, something like that, we can say, hey, Bob, just to let you know, we're going from $1,000 a month in spend to $30,000 a month in spend pretty quickly. Now, when this happens, what's going to happen is your ad account's going to get reviewed more frequently by Meta, and this might lead to you getting your ad account shut down or disabled. Now, you don't have to do this, but what some of our most successful clients will do is they'll actually partner with an agency that we use that will protect your ad account from getting shut down. Or if it does get shut down, you can get it launched the next day. So there's absolutely no downtime. Here's the cost of it. Let me know if you're interested. So we are being proactive in this sense here by actually making them an offer on something before they'd even experienced the problem in the first place. And this will shorten that time frame from when they first pay us money to when they're paying us money again, right? So I'm not being reactive and it's more in our control. Another example of foresight, going back to what I talked about earlier, for our clients would be, let's say our client's going right now and they are at 8 sales calls a day and they're not really seeing any problems with it. They're okay taking 8 sales calls a day. Sure, they're exhausted, but they're just like, oh my God, I've never made this much money in my entire life. But we know that any person that's running a business that's taking 8 sales calls a day is eventually going to get burnt out, because not only are you taking 8 sales calls a day, but you also have to manage the marketing side of things. You also have to manage the client success side of things. You also have to have a personal life. And so without fail, every single time you have a business owner doing that many sales calls a day, something's going to break, right? And so what we might say is, hey, Bob, first of all, super happy that this marketing system that we helped you build is working right now. You're at 8 sales calls a day. I remember when you first came to us, you were barely doing 1 sales call every 3 days. So we've seen really, really great progress. Now, right now, you're spending about 8 hours a day working inside the business. Have you considered getting a salesperson that's going to take, let's say, 10% of your top line revenue? So it is going to eat into your profit a little bit, but it's going to buy you back 8 hours in your day. And do you think that you can maybe do something with our help that can make you more money than you're losing from that 10% of that salesperson? And the answer is always obviously a yes. But why have they not hired that salesperson? Well, because I just told you, they're already spending 8 hours every single day on sales calls. Where the heck are they going to find time to find, interview, train, ramp, onboard a new salesperson? So this is where we can come into play. Hey, what if I told you I could get somebody on the sales calls, taking them for you in the next 7 days, and you don't have to lift a finger? All it costs is this thing here. Well, now Bob is going to be very interested because he doesn't have to slow down the work that he's doing. He doesn't have to slow down the money that he's making. And remember, a buyer is a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. So he has no problem paying to avoid having to get bad salespeople and to avoid having to stop the progress that he's making so far. Finally, let me end this video by walking through a few sticking points that I see when people try to implement this on their own. So the first and the most obvious one is that there's no KPIs. So if you're watching this video and you clicked on it because you saw that I'm making all this profit per client that I wasn't making before, and you want to do the exact same thing, then I need you to ask yourself, do you know how much profit you're currently making per client? Do you know how many offers that you're currently making to your client base? Do you know the show up rate of those offers? Do you know the close rate of those offers? Do you know what the main problems are that your clients are experiencing if you group them all together? What percentage of clients are experiencing this problem versus this problem? At what time on average in their course of work with you are you making that first offer? At what time on average are they ascending into your other offers, or are they buying your cross-sell offers? These are all incredibly important statistics for KPIs that you should be tracking. I'd say that 99.9% of clients we work with have never even thought of any of these metrics. But if I ask them cost per lead, cost per acquisition, the number of book calls every single day, they could say it off the top of their head, right? Because they're not seeing their client success team and their fulfillment process as a revenue generator. They're seeing it just as a cost on their P&L statement. So the first thing is you need to get really serious with tracking the KPIs. And the most important KPI that we track is our cross-sell rate, right? So how many current active clients do you have? Are you actually cross-selling into something else? Could be an upsell, a downsell, a cross-sell, whatever else it is. But how many of your active clients are you able to sell in a year into something else? And by raising that number, obviously you're going to make more profit per client. But then that number, just like any other number, is a lagging indicator, meaning that it is a secondary metric to other indicators, like how many offers are you making? How many offers do you even have to make in the first place? How is your close rate, et cetera, et cetera. And the second main sticking point that I see is that people are not hiring salespeople for their back end client success team, their fulfillment team. They're hiring account managers. They're hiring VAs overseas. They're hiring some girl out of college who looks pretty and is really nice to clients, and she's able to get a client who's really pissed off to be just a little bit less pissed off because she's so sweet to them, right? And all these things aren't bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that stuff. I'm saying that if you want to turn your client success team from a cost into a profit, you need to start looking a little bit deeper, and you need to maybe find somebody that has all those qualities but is also a killer salesperson. And so what we found is that by hiring people who have previous sales experience, there is a direct correlation with how many sales, cross-sells that they're making to our current clients. Shocker, I know, but you'd be surprised how many people don't believe that or don't follow that advice. So now for someone to work in our company as a client success manager, they have to absolutely have experience as a salesperson selling high-ticket products or services, because that's what we want to do. Not only do we want to deliver results for our clients, but we want to actually have an opportunity to sell them more things, which obviously still requires sales. Now, a sale for a current client is 100 times easier than a sale for a total stranger, but it's still a sale nonetheless. You're still going to have objections. You're still going to have issues. You're still going to have financial problems. And so you need to be able to handle those in a graceful way. And if you're trying to teach this person how to do it, you're always going to be one step behind, versus hiring somebody who is not only really great at client success and client fulfillment and can take care of your clients, but also has a sales background. You're going to be way ahead of the curve. It's going to be way less work for you. And the biggest mistake that I see business owners make is they think that these people don't exist. They think that they're unicorns. When in reality, the problem is that either A, you're not setting up your compensation plan to reflect a person of this caliber coming into your company, meaning you're just going to give them one flat base salary versus a base salary plus some kind of percentage of commission for every single back end deal that they're closing. And the other thing is that you're not spending enough time getting specific enough with exactly who you're trying to hire and then going out and settling for nothing less, right? Because you think there's only account managers out there that are basic that you can pay basic salaries to, well, then that's all you're attracting and that's all you're going to be getting. Versus saying, not only do I want this, but I also want sales background. Is there going to be less people that fall in that category? Absolutely. But are those people out there? Absolutely. You could even get a salesperson who's exhausted from doing sales all the time, or even a business owner that's exhausted from running all areas of the business the entire time, and say, hey, what if you could just work with a handful of clients doing what you love and still make additional money, enough money that you want to make every single year to be happy by cross-selling or upselling them on our different products and services. And that's actually a really great way to not settle and get an A player from another area into your business in order to make you more money. There you have it. If you have any questions, please put them down below and I'll answer them as quickly as I can. And if you want my personal help scaling your business, implementing a lot of the same stuff here, turning your client success and fulfillment into a profit maker, making an additional thousands of dollars every single client that you enroll, helping create those back-end offers, please go down below and book a call to speak with me, one of our team members, where we can walk through what the next steps of that would look like.